All right. In a few minutes, we are about to begin for Unity. So our topic for today is all about AEC visualization with Unity. So in a few minutes, we are about to begin at 3 p.m. for high performance architecture, engineering, and construction visualization with Unity. So please invite everyone whom you know will benefit a lot, most especially to those who are interested in making renders and visualization. So take note, the visualization will not be happening in a render engine, but in a game engine. And notably, that game engine is Unity. So please invite your friends, colleagues, and workmates to join us at 3 p.m. for high performance AEC visualization in with Unity. Performance AEC visualization in with Unity. Also, if you're into building information modeling, we're inviting everyone to join us in BIM Philippines. Please join us there. Ayan. Thank you for joining us, Yana Olave. Ayan. Susan, Jessilo, good afternoon po. Yap on. Ayan. So, you may have heard about Unity used in making games. Well, you'll be hearing more about Unity once more for creating AEC visualization. So once more, if you're not yet in our group, inviting you to join us in BIM Philippines, please share the link. We are simultaneously live in YouTube and Facebook. Yeah, good afternoon, Yap On, coming from our viewer in Facebook. Okay, so we also have a group in LinkedIn. It's Unity Game Developers Philippines, inviting you to join us there as well. And in Facebook, also we have Unity Learning Group. Okay, so our speaker and sharer this afternoon is Marek Marchlewish. I hope I'm not butchering his name. Apologies, Marek.
Marek Marchlewicz. It's a Polish name, that's why it's so difficult to pronounce. But just call me Marek. It's fine.
Okay, so you'll be hearing more from Marek at 3 p.m. So we're just waiting for everyone to join us. So once more, our speaker sharer later this afternoon at 3 p.m. is Marek. He's an evangelist from Unity. And to all our friends in Autodesk. So if you're a new participant viewer, if this is your first time to hear from us, inviting you to join as well. We have the largest Autodesk learning group in the Philippines. It's Autodesk Community Philippines. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you knows Revit, and I think Marek will be sharing some workflows on how we can bring Revit 3ds Max into Unity. So we're hoping Marek will also be sharing those stuffs. All right, so and okay, so in addition, we're challenging our Autodesk Power users. So challenging you to take up the Autodesk certification exams. Okay, so we have exams for the ones related to AEC are Civil 3D, Revit, MEP, Mechanical, Electrical, Plumbing, Revit Architecture, Revit, Mechanical, Revit Structure, AutoCAD, 3ds Max, Inventor. So those are mostly the softwares related to AEC. Okay, so we have a certification exam for that as well. So challenging you to take up the challenge of taking the Autodesk certification exam. Same with Adobe. Okay, so we have this certification exams in Adobe as well. We have Dreamweaver, Animate, Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and After Effects. So hoping to see you take up the challenge as well to be certified and recognized by Adobe and Autodesk. Okay, in addition, coming soon, we are working out with Unity to bring Unity certification exams as well. So stay tuned for that. So once more, stay tuned for that upcoming Unity. Unity also has certification exams. Okay, so once more today, we will all be learning how a game engine, once more, a game engine can be utilized to create awesome visualization in architecture, engineering, and construction. Once more, our speaker is Marek, an evangelist from Unity Technologies. Ayan po. So your host this afternoon, ako po si Joe Mark. Also, please connect with me via LinkedIn. Connect po, no? Connect, not follow. Okay, so later at 3 p.m. we will be hearing more about Marek and how Unity seamlessly fits in AEC visualization. Okay, so we have many free trainings related to Adobe. Okay, so inviting you to like and follow, subscribe MechaniWeb for more up-to-date informations. Okay, so to learn more about our upcoming events, just head to events and click the link on the type or name of the course you're interested. And then there's the registration form is there. So once more, it's all free. So in addition, we have many upcoming free trainings with Autodesk as well. Just head over to Autodesk Community Philippines, specifically to our events page. We are also in YouTube, so please subscribe to us there as well. And feel free to watch and to learn more on our past live training. So it's all here in YouTube and same in Facebook. Okay, so inviting everyone. If this is your first time to hear about us, inviting you to join BIM Philippines if you're interested in building information modeling, architecture, engineering, and construction. We have BIM Philippines for you. Also, like our page for BIM Philippines, inviting you to join us in Unity, our learning group in Unity, in LinkedIn and in Facebook. And to all our attendees right now today, okay, so after our live stream, we will be sharing this course to everyone who has commented down below. Requesting everyone to comment down Unity for AEC. Once more, we will be sharing this course to complement the talk of Marek. So after our live stream, we will be sharing this course to you to learn more about Unity interactivity for AEC. But first, you have to comment down hashtag Unity for AEC. So if you're finally ready to take up the challenge of Autodesk and Adobe certification exams, feel free to contact MechaniWeb. Also, if you're ready to subscribe to purchase Adobe subscription, you may also contact any MechaniWeb representative. Okay, so once more, our speaker this afternoon is Marek from an evangelist from Unity Technologies. I think he is currently based in Singapore. All right, and he has also worked with Crytek. I'm seeing here Crytek. For all crisis crisis fans out there. Ayan. Once more, to all who may be interested in learning more about Unity, we will be sharing this course to all of our connections in LinkedIn. So please connect with us, not follow, but specifically connect. Okay, so LinkedIn Learning has about 94 courses for you to learn more about Unity. Okay, so it also has, I believe, certification preps like this one. If you're planning to take the certification prep for Unity UI and 2D games, so we have a certification course here as well in LinkedIn Learning. So same here, certification prep for Unity materials and lighting, Unity animation and cinematics. Okay, so we also have here Unity for Revit Reflect workflow. So once more, just comment down hashtag Unity for AEC. And connect, subscribe, like, follow us in LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So once more, the topic is not about the topic this afternoon is not about creating games. Okay, so our topic is Unity, a game engine being utilized for AEC, architecture, engineering, and construction, mainly for visualization. So to those who are renderers as well, renderers out there, so we're informing you that you can also utilize a game engine to create awesome visualization in visualization for the AEC or BIM industry. Ayan. So please share the link. Please inform your friends whom you think our live stream will be beneficial to. Ayan. So this is an awesome career opportunity as well. So if you're into creating photorealistic renders and using V-Ray, Arnold, this is a level up, an exciting level up and career for you out there, for everyone out there who's into visualization. Once more, we will be utilizing a game engine to create awesome visuals for AEC, architecture, engineering, and construction. Join us once more in BIM Philippines. We have a Unity learning group in LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Once more, our speaker is Marek, who is currently based, I think, in Singapore. He is a Unity evangelist. Okay, so in addition, you can spice up your renders, your models using Adobe Substance. Okay, you can spice up and level up your renders, your visualization using Adobe Substance as well. So I'm sure our Unity users are familiar with Substance. But I think also our BIM and AEC users are not familiar, especially here in the Philippines, not familiar with using Substance and Unity to create awesome visualizations. So in addition, if you're interested in purchasing a Substance software, please also contact MechaniWeb. Yeah, Substance, algorithmic Substance was previously acquired by Adobe. So Substance is now an Adobe company. Okay, so in a few minutes, we are about to begin for High Performance AEC Visualization in Unity. Ayan. So I think we will be having a replay of this one. So stay tuned for that as well. So the only the only sad thing is you weren't able to gain real-time insights from Marek as well, because we also have a Q&A portion. So feel free to drop down your questions and comments before we end the live stream. Okay. Are you all set, Marek?
Yes.
May,
It's all good on my side. Let me maybe share my screen because I have a presentation.
Yep. Just select
Okay.
share screen.
Entire screen. All right. Let me know if you can see my presentation. Can you see it?
Yep.
All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Marek, and I'm evangelist at Unity Singapore. And today's topic is high performance AEC. AEC stands for Architecture, Engineering, and Construction Visualization in Unity. So as it was mentioned in the introduction, Unity is actually a game engine. I would rather say we started as a game engine, and now we like to call it more like a real-time engine or a creator's engine, because many different industries, including AEC, start to adopt real-time technology for visualization. I worked at Unity as an evangelist, and part of my job is to share the latest knowledge with developers on conferences and different events. I also work with the team of field engineers here in the Singapore office, and we work some very exciting projects. Some of them also include the AEC vertical, so there's some real people using this technology. And I hope to share as much knowledge as I can in today's session. I'm going to start with a quick introduction to Unity in case you haven't used it before. So Unity as a company, as I mentioned, we are mostly used as a game engine developer. And actually, most of the mobile games today, they are probably made with Unity. Maybe you played some of our games and you don't even know about it. Things like Angry Birds or Pokemon Go, they are example of games made with Unity. And our users, as I mentioned, they are not only game developers. People use our engine to create animated movies, short films, but also automotive industry or AEC industry. They have some very interesting case studies from using our engine. And by adopting real-time technologies, you can eliminate many design frictions so that you can reach the real full potential, do more cost savings, and increase efficiency, and do better collaboration across many teams in your team or your organization. Before I continue, I want to tell you a little bit more about the topic of today's presentation. So what do I mean by high performance? By high performance, I mean great and eye-catching visuals. If you create a visualization that's very good looking, then of course you'll reach the broader audience. The ease of use, enabling collaboration and quicker iteration times. I think they also contribute to something we can call high performance. And all of these ingredients, they contribute to high performance AEC visualization. And today, the agenda for today is I'm going to start with the Unity for AEC. And in this section, I'm going to introduce you to our offering for AEC and share some of the use cases and our client success stories. Next, I'm going to move to Unity Reflect. Unity Reflect is our main offering for AEC. And just to make it short, Reflect allows you to bring BIM models, and visualize them on virtually any device that supports Unity. And finally, I'm going to give you some demos. I'm going to show you how to connect Reflect project together with Revit project together with Reflect, and I'm going to show you some demos of that. And finally, I think we'll have some time for Q&A. We have around 2 hours, so that's quite a lot of time. And hopefully, if you have any questions, you'll be able to ask them here today. If you, so I was prepared actually for the Zoom presentation. That's why I've written here to use a Q&A section. I think we'll sort the questions. I'm not sure how, but I'm quite sure we can find a way. But if you want to be able to ask questions today, there are Unity forums that are probably the best place where you want to find help, or maybe you want to ask more questions. The forums are a great place for that. I would also really appreciate if you would take some time after the presentation and fill in the survey, because this will allow me to improve and target it better for future presentations. And also at the last slide, I'm going to show you share my email address. So in case you have more specific question, or maybe you want to discuss something, you'll be able to reach out to me and my team. Okay, so now let's start with the Unity for AEC section. Many people in the AEC industry, they're using what I would call the old ways of doing things. And while the technology is evolving and the industry is evolving very fast, the builders needs ability to create faster, cheaper, and better. These are the expectations in the AEC industry. And the new technologies, they are really changing the build life cycles, and the demand is really heating up because of the tools such as new platforms that fully immerse clients, prospects, and the employees, and allow you to collaborate to make decisions. And I'm talking specifically about VR and AR. And these technologies, they are relatively new. VR became mainstream, I would say. It started probably with the first Oculus, but nowadays it kind of became mainstream, and it can really, this immersive technologies, they can really allow you to collaborate better and make better decisions and visualize things in a more immersive way. Cloud-based solutions make it increasingly easy and fast to get information and tools across different teams. High-speed internet definitely helps with that, and almost universal access to mobile devices and the growing popularity of streaming videos. They all demand that we move towards cloud-based solutions and data. And even now, during the COVID-19 situation, most of the countries that are under lockdown, for many big companies, the workforces and crews are global, and the tech presents new ways of staying connected and easily collaborate. And I think a good example of this kind of collaboration could be Unity Reflect, that I'm going to talk in the later part of the presentation. We are seeing a big increase of industry adoption for this kind of innovation. So, for example, last year on the construction sites, 81% of the respondents, they plan to spend more on technology compared to a year before. And as for the construction industry trends, the collaborative project delivery methods, they are becoming much more popular. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, the immersive technologies like AR and VR, they are becoming mainstream nowadays. Everybody has a mobile phone that should have some sort of capabilities to deliver AR, whether it is through Vuforia or maybe some native plugins like ARKit or ARCore. At Unity, we know that architects, builders, and engineers they face many problems, and the transfer of data, specifically, I'm talking here about Revit data into Unity, hasn't been always very easy. It's been possible, but it was not optimal. And one of the biggest issues was that if you wanted to move your Revit data into Unity or any real-time application, you would lose some information. And I'm talking about the metadata, the BIM information, right? If you export your Revit model into FBX, you are losing much of the information through this format conversion. This is a case study provided by the courtesy of Mortenson. And by using Unity and our real-time capabilities, Taylor Cupp, Project Solutions Technologies at Mortenson, he's well-known in the AEC industry for his VR leadership. Here's what he had to say. I worked with one of our emerging technologies developers, Will Adams, on the research he was doing while at University of Minnesota. I could see the potential value of offering real-time simulation services to Mortenson customers. Will and the other emerging technologies developer were able to rapidly learn new skill set from the video game industry and have been successfully applying it to our business for several years. I mentioned real-time a few times during this presentation.
Yep.
And sometimes it might be a little bit confusing. So what is real-time and what is not real-time? So classical media like movies, the standard classical movies, they're not real-time. Everything you see in a recorded movie was pre-recorded and cannot be altered as you watch it. If you want to change the smallest detail in, let's say, animation, the pre-rendered animation, you'd have to spend hours to render a single frame of that animation. And on the other hand, you have things like video games. And the video games, by design, they are able to react to your input. This could be from your mouse, keyboard, or a controller. The characters, cameras, and much more, like the entire environment, it can be altered and rendered differently frame to frame. So this is something we call real-time. And real-time, as far as I can tell, it's the future. Everything shows that this is how the things are going to be done moving forward. And Unity is one of the world's most extensible and widely used real-time development platforms. And it can help you lower costs, save time, and streamline some workflows across design, build, and operate cycle. This is really important. And designing, engineering, and construction, building in VR allows, for example, if you want to demonstrate how your building is going to look like, it allows your clients to experience the environment before it's even built. The training can be constrained, usually constrained by physical boundaries, can now be moved into VR or other immersive platforms. And of course, you can iterate much faster using real-time technologies. There are also some interesting estimates. There's some interesting estimates that say that the losses that are caused by mistakes in workflows could be reaching $450 billion a year. So it's a huge kind of money problem here. And this is what you could call the price of inefficiency. So if our workflows are not efficient, this across all the industries in AEC, this is the amount of money we are losing every year. And many architects, engineers, and construction professionals, they are leading the way, and innovation departments are creating higher expectations of what's capable within the design, build, and operate cycle. So some of the leading companies, they have already adopted real-time because of the interactivity, the collaboration it brings back into their hands. So in the design phase, we see an accelerating adoption of the real-time rendering. And the Forrester report tells us that architects are more inclined than ever to switch to real-time rendering. And according to some reports, even 95% of architects, they are now interested in adopting the real-time rendering solutions as a means of reviewing and editing design with customers. And you could kind of, I like to say about it, you could compare it to staying with static 2D blueprints and versus the 3D modeling in XR. So it's comparable to sticking with the basic 2D drawings or blueprints when 3D modeling has been invented. So I encourage you, if you haven't tried the real-time technologies like Unity, I really encourage you to try it yourself because of the benefits it brings. So Unity is helping professionals in the AEC to bridge the gap and basically allow them to actively collaborate the design, build, and operate cycle. And with design visualizations, this could be VR, AR, the immersive tech, or even PC. You can get better designs faster by improving the iteration time. From the concept to data integration, visualization, and prototyping, Unity enables architects and engineers to catch and adjust the imperfections while easily collaborating on designs. For people working in sales and marketing, I think this will be very, very important. You might take a note that to deliver experiences that win the bids, you have to create rich scenarios that immerse your clients and customers in the buying process. And this could include things like the online configurators, something like the IKEA app. It could be maybe virtual showroom and car configurators. So at Unity, we enable you to create rich 3D interactive experiences that can engage your clients emotionally. And the image that you see here, it's actually our London office. And I want to switch now to my Unity engine and show you Unity in action. So if you haven't seen Unity before, this is how the engine looks like. I have several panels here. And everything you see here in this view game, this is basically the thing that your final customer is going to see on their machine. Okay, I'm going to move very slowly in case the frame rate is not so good. But basically, everything that you see here can be moved, changed, and altered because it's a real-time simulation. Okay, and now I'm using my mouse to move around the camera to look around the office. So this is the main entrance, and you can see we have some Unity logo here. This particular visualization, our London office visualization, it's using a technology we call it HDRP, the high definition rendering pipeline. And this is a technology that allows us to create this high definition images. You can see if I come closer here, we have this nice glass that's refracting the light in a realistic way. We have a floor that has all these reflections. You can see that it's physically based rendering workflow. That means that we are able to simulate with high accuracy different type of materials like wood, stone, or metal. Okay, let me move a little bit forward. Because it's a real-time simulation, we can put some interactive elements here. So for example, to increase the realism, we added moving doors, and we even, to make it more realistic, we added the video that's being played in the actual office on a TV. So there's actually quite a lot of things that you can embed in your visualization. Very often in architecture visualization, you want to preview different materials, right? So here on the floor, we added the floor tiling change on button press. So every time I press a button on my keyboard, I can preview different floor tiling. As I mentioned before in the presentation, the expectations are getting higher and higher for the realism of your simulation. So you could add things like Rain on your
Rain.
on the glass, rain on the window.
Nice.
You can add some real-time lights. Let me come closer to the window. I remember that we added a flock of birds, but I think that it might be not this scene. But yes, this thing that you can see outside, this could be a 360 video, this could be a 360 image. There's like quite a lot of things that you can do with this demo. Let me just quickly move to the other room. Oh, by the way, I think this demo should be available on our website, so if you want to try it, feel free to try it. And this is something I think would be very interesting to you. So when we created this particular demo, the team that was creating it had some BIM data embedded in the objects, and we preserved that BIM data to display overlay here on top of the object. So you can see who was the manufacturer of this lamp here, or the wall material. This all comes from the BIM data. It's not hard coded. It was dynamically connected to the BIM. And as I mentioned, this particular demo is using this thing called HDRP, our high definition rendering pipeline. And it allows you to create some realistic materials. And this could be like, as I mentioned, metal, maybe this carpet here, or you could create your custom shaders. For example, this sofa here. As far as I remember, it was using the custom shader. So now we have this technology called shader graph, and there are different nodes that allow you to create different type of materials, including things like this carpet here, metal, glass, refracted glass, and much more. And in case there is any delay, just to show you that how fast it's running, you can see that it's running very steady 60 frames per second on my machine. So if you have like any modern Mac or Windows laptop, this should run actually quite fast. And I think it's really impressive, because if you think about the quality of this visualization, if you would render it with the offline renderer, it might take from a few seconds up to even a few minutes or a few hours to render one frame. And here we are rendering basically 60 frames every single second. So that's really impressive. Okay, so that's the London office. So as I mentioned, this high quality visualization was available because of this HDRP, the high definition rendering pipeline. But Unity comes with two default rendering technologies. The first one is called the Universal Render Pipeline, or URP. And the URP targets wide range of devices. So this could be a mobile phone, but it also could be a high-end PC. With the Universal, we try to target the widest possible range of devices. And with HDRP, on the other hand, we are targeting more demanding hardware, but also delivering this stunning visuals. Currently, we are the most widely used real-time 3D development platform, and we want to make it easier and better for you to achieve your goals. So let's take a look at some case studies for training and safety. So training applications, they basically enable you to learn, and you can create some interesting learning scenarios in interactive, immersive 3D space. This, of course, will speed up the knowledge transfer. It reduces the physical mockup costs, so you don't actually have to create the physical mockups. Everything can be done virtually on your machine. And of course, it will lower the risks of the on-site construction injuries. So let's take a look. This is a short video from Skanska. They used VR to create an immersive training.
Riskerna är ungefär ganska lika under användandet av byggnaden så rör det sig till nya risker. Så vi måste vara med i matchen. För att våra mål, eller mitt mål är att alla ska komma hem härifrån helskinnade, komma hem till sina familjer och ska vara säkra på arbetet.
För att förstå att ett beteende kan vara ett problem behöver man ju själv då uppleva att det jag gör kan faktiskt vara farligt. Och sen därifrån får jag ju finna min motivation till att förändra mitt beteende. Vi jobbar ju väldigt mycket med olika informationssatsningar, vi har en massa bra statistik och det finns ju också en mängd lagkrav som reglerar vad man kan och inte kan göra. Och det är ju superbra för att öka förståelsen, men det kommer ju inte i sig att leda till att du minskar ditt riskbeteende. Där måste det till något annat.
Många gånger så tittar vi på ritningar i 2D, vi ser säkerhetsintroduktioner på papper, vi når nog inte hela vägen fram alltid.
Anledningen är ju allra oftast att det är ingenting som handlar om mig. De absolut flesta beslut som vi fattar på en dag bygger på känsla. Många riskmoment är man säkert inte ens medveten om. Och det är där vi kan hjälpa till genom VR att simulera de här riskerna. Så att man blir medveten om dem. Då kommer de helt enkelt sitta på ett annat sätt.
Virtual reality är ju ett medium som skapar känsla hos användarna. Man ser inte det som någonting man har sett eller hört eller bevittnat från avstånd, utan det är egentligen någonting annan upplever. De känslorna är så pass starka att det leder till en beteendeförändring.
Får vi det tredje om man får uppleva vissa saker så tror jag att det blir mer eftertryck när vi försöker påvisa vilka saker inom säkerhet. Det är väl det bästa sättet just nu i alla fall som vi har att utsätta dem för en fara utan att det är en fara. Och då är ju det ett bra alternativ. Då kan vi göra det här och skapa aha-upplevelsen i kontrollerad form.
Vi och Skanska har ett nära samarbete i det här projektet där de bidrar med sin kunskap inom beteendeförändring och byggbranschen. Och vi bidrar med VR och ett kreativt perspektiv på det hela. Och när man slår ihop de här så kan man faktiskt skapa magi i en säkerhetsträning. Och det tror man inte riktigt, men det går.
Det är väl det som jag personligen brinner för i det här projektet. En möjlighet att faktiskt ta bort alla sådana risker. Det ska inte kunna hända på grund av jobbet. Du ska komma hem skadefri varje dag.
And all of this means that Unity provides the real-time creation platform and solutions that give AEC professionals the freedom to create buildings at lower cost, save time, and more streamlined. Here is some of the news coverage. I'm going to just skip this one. Currently, we are the world's most versatile and widely used real-time 3D development platform. And as I mentioned, not just for games, but across many different industries. And just to put this in numbers, around 60% of all VR and AR content is powered by Unity. And on some platforms like HoloLens, these numbers, they reach more 80-90%. And 90% of the world's most innovative AR VR companies, they're powered by Unity. And Unity is on every so this is kind of mind-boggling. Unity is on every single country on the planet, with around 3 billion devices reached with made with Unity experiences in the last 12 months. So if you play any mobile games or use any mobile apps, there's quite high chance that one of them was at least one of them was using Unity. And currently we support around 25 different platforms. I'm going to show you in a moment all these platforms. Unity is also a development platform of choice for people from many different industries. And I would say this is mainly because the ease of use, the flexibility, and the rendering capabilities it comes with. So here is the list. I think it's the most recent one with different platforms that we target. So as you can see, starting from the top left, we support mobile devices like iOS, Android, Windows, all the different game consoles like PlayStation VR, the AR platforms like ARKit, ARCore, Google Cardboard, Daydream, Steam VR, HoloLens, and if you have any new platform from a big company, like let's say Microsoft or Sony, we are very likely to be one of the first people to support that particular platform. You can also bring most of your experiences to the WebGL. So if you want to display content in the browser, this is also possible with Unity. So just to sum up, Unity is very flexible. It allows you to create your own extensions, or you can get those extensions from the asset store. So in a moment, I'm going to show you some interesting things that were created by our community, and you can get them from the asset store to include in your project. The learning curve is really great. So I would say it's one of the easiest tools that to learn. So if you haven't tried Unity yet, you can go to Unity Learn tab or try one of the courses, and maybe some YouTube videos. So a great thing about Unity is that we have quite a large community. So if you have any problem, you can just type your question in Google or YouTube, and it's very likely to pop up in one of the first answers. And people also create their own tutorials, their own courses to share with other people. So you should be able to very quickly get up to speed and start developing, if you will. We also provide some really great and rich interactivity, and as I show you with the London office demo, some great graphical performance. So I just quickly mentioned the Unity Asset Store. It gives you access to the largest marketplace of the shelf assets and productivity tools to jumpstart your project. And these are like building blocks that can cut down on the development time and get you up and running across the finish line faster. So one of the main things that I recommend for people starting with Unity is something we call standard assets. So the standard assets, and they provide you some basic building blocks for your experience. So for example, this could be a first and third person character controllers, some 3D models for the characters, and many assets provided in the asset store, they're actually for free. So I really encourage you to, if you start with Unity, go to the asset store and look for some interesting things that you can reuse in your game or in your visualization to get up to speed. Quite recently, we also added the Snaps package. So if you want to create this very high quality visualizations, but you don't have 3D models, you can actually go to the asset store. This particular asset, Snaps Art HD construction site, this is the one provided by us. So there's asset stores originals, and this provides this very high quality models for if you want to visualize the construction site. They are called snaps because they consist of very simple objects that you can kind of snap together and create realistic looking simulation very fast. Some of the other interesting assets are the urban traffic simulations. So this is a asset that can help you to visualize basically the car traffic and the pedestrian traffic in your scene. This one is a little bit on the expensive side, but it's one of the most impressive assets I've seen on the marketplace. And we also have the modern UI pack. So of course, if you start create your experiences visualizations and you want some interactivity in it, it's really good to have some good looking UI. So You don't need to create everything from scratch yourself. You can go to the asset store and get some of the kind of modern looking buttons and icons and reuse that asset in your own project. We have the largest global community. So this means that it will be very easy for you to find staff, talent, and help. As I mentioned, if you just type any question related to Unity in Google or YouTube, you are very likely to receive help from other users. There's plentiful of resources, inspirations, meetups, and new workforce of Unity trained students every year. So Unity is one of the highest demanded IT skills and has one of the highest forecasted growth rate at over 35% over the next 2 years. So this is according to the Burning Glass labor statistics. And as of 2017, so this is not the most recent data, but Unity was number 7 of the top 10 fastest growing jobs in the US, according to LinkedIn data. So this is some really impressive data here. And we offer everything you need to ensure that you are successful as a Unity real-time development studio. Moving on, in this section, I think I'm going to give you an introduction to Unity Reflect. And I'm going to start with a very quick video. And that's going to give you a brief introduction, and then I'm going to move to Revit and show you how Revit connects your BIM model, BIM data with the real-time simulation. I think this particular visualization here, as far as I remember, it comes from the asset from the asset store. It's called ArcVis Pro. It's one of the best visual assets if you're looking for some sofas or interiors. It's really great for visualization. Okay, so let's see how Unity Reflect gives you out-of-the-box functionality and how it actually works. So first of all, to use Reflect, you will need one of these 4 pieces of software. So it's going to be Navisworks. Today I'm going to focus on Revit, but it also works with the SketchUp or Rhino. So we've worked together with Autodesk to create native plugins for this software to reduce the data preparation to basically a single click. And with this one click, user can synchronize the BIM data from this software and push it to basically create real-time experience. So there is quite a lot of complexity in this behind this one click. Through the data federation process hosted on the local machine or on the local server, or quite recently we added the cloud server support, so this can be hosted on our site. Unity Reflect brings together BIM from multiple designer and engineers working on different systems into one model, and automatically optimizes the data for real-time 3D, including the preservation of the metadata. So the optimization step is actually quite important, because as I've shown you with the London office demo, it's running and rendering 60 frames per second. So if you bring a very, very complex model into Unity, you might run into some, actually any real-time platform, you might run into issues. And most of the time, if you work with AR or VR, you want to keep your visualization at 60 frames per second. In VR, the target could be higher, like 90 or even 120 frames per second. So once the models, they are federated, Unity Reflect creates an interactive 3D experience that can be distributed to any platform that supports is supported by Unity. So this could be your PC, this could be your mobile phone, or maybe VR headset or AR device. And the second thing is that everything is live linked. So if you change anything about your original design in Revit or SketchUp, the update is actually propagated through this local or cloud server into one of your devices. Unity Reflect lets you to unlock the value of the BIM data by putting it directly into the hands of your project stakeholders on any device. So as I said, this could be a laptop, this could be a handheld device, and it gives your project stakeholders the power to see everything in context and quickly make changes. And of course, it improves collaboration and reduces the costly mistakes. And because Unity Reflect is live linked to Revit or SketchUp or Navisworks, you can make changes in your design application. So here, the change that was done in Revit is being automatically propagated through this server that I mentioned earlier into your target device. And this is great because the ideas and feedback, they can be implemented in real time instead of days or weeks later. And because Unity Reflect preserves the BIM metadata, it allows you to reuse it. I'm going to show you in my Unity Reflect build. Basically, you can select any type of your architecture model, and you basically can put it in a context. So here I'm highlighting some piping in a building, and I'm going to show you how it works in a moment. So if your team has some Unity experience, if they have some Unity expertise, you can customize your experience, and this is really powerful. You can bring it into AR, VR. You can change the UI. Also, Unity Reflect lets you to bring your BIM and CAD data into Unity much faster. So from there, you can customize anything with Unity. So you can change materials, you can add post-processing, you can deploy it to every single supported platform like iOS, Android, VR, AR, and then many others. So the default Unity Reflect viewer is like a reference application that provides access to the source code. Okay, so you can build viewers and applications on top of that using the Unity editor. And this could be something as simple as modifying the GUI, include the logo of your client, and maybe provide some additional functionality. This is video from one of our beta customers, the shop architects. So here the technicians on the ground, they can overlay the designs in AR on top of the ongoing construction project. They can also surface the construction documents from Revit tied to the exact position. So instead of going through the paper documentation or going through the PDFs, the on-site team can actually have all this information at hand on the handheld device. So they can perform their jobs much more efficiently. And because Unity Reflect preserves the metadata during the data federation process, you can create some custom applications without having to worry that the BIM data is lost. So here in this short video, let me replay it. This is the same company, Shop Architects. They were able to take the embedded data within the BIM model to visually relay the acoustic properties of the location in VR. So this simulation enabled the Shop Architects to gain the understanding of the acoustic influence on the design and make the right adjustments to ensure that the sound acoustic environment is correct. So without further ado, I'm going to switch over to Unity Reflect, and specifically I want to show you the live link with Revit. I also want to show you how to create some construction sequencing, because this is an interesting case. And finally, very briefly, I'm going to show you how to create your own AR viewer. So here, let me close this one here. Okay, so this is my Revit, and I'm going to start the sample architecture project. I have already installed the Unity plugin. So Unity Reflect, it comes with a plugin, and after it's installed, you should be able to see the Unity tab here. All right, and once you click on the Unity tab, you should be able to click either on Export View or Start. So I'm going to click on Start to start the synchronization. First, I need to select any of the views. I'm going to choose the 3D view. I think I already modified something in this project. It doesn't look like the example project, but anyway, let me press Start now. So by pressing Start, it's going to launch the Unity Reflect, and this is a dashboard. And from the dashboard, it allows me to select the local, network, or cloud projects. So the local project, this is going to be something running on this machine, on this computer alone. So I can't share it with other people. If I select the network version, it's going to start the local server. So if I have any device connected to the same Wi-Fi network, for example, my mobile phone, I could connect my mobile phone too. And finally, we have the cloud. So the cloud basically allows you to host it on the internet on one of our cloud servers. And then you can, if you have access to 4G or even 5G, you can access your data virtually anywhere. So let me show you how it looks with the local version. I can assure you that the workflow is exactly the same for the network and cloud versions. So for the local one, here you would have to create and attach one of your projects, one of the Unity projects. So you can either create a new one, or I'm going to select one of the existing ones. So the sample architecture, this is the name I want to use. I'm going to click Synchronize. This might take a few seconds. So you can see that here it's printing the model, and I should be good to go now. So let me switch over to the default Unity Reflect viewer. So this is the one that's pre-made for you. All right, so when you launch it for the first time, you will have to log in. I'm already logged into my account. It will refresh the list of the projects, and yeah, it's basically like a list. So I just select the first on top. This is the newest one, and I'm going to open it. It's going to download all the data, and you can see that everything that I hit here in my Revit appears here in my simulation in the Unity Reflect viewer. All right, I have some basic keyboard and mouse interaction. So I have live remote. If I right click, I can move my camera and then use my keyboard to move around. If I use my middle mouse button, I can pan around and rotate with my left mouse button. So by default, we have enabled the post-processing. So post-processing is something that makes the entire visualization look slightly better. So for example, there's ambient occlusion here in the corners, and there's some color grading and things like that. If you're running on the, let's say, mobile device, you can turn it off by selecting switching from better looking to more responsive. So if you are after higher FPS numbers, higher frames per second numbers, you can switch to the more responsive one. So yeah, this is Reflect, and what I can do now is I can click this button here. So this will start the synchronization process, something we call the live link. And if I modify anything here, so for example, I'll select one of the windows and remove it, it should propagate this change here into my viewer. So you can see that I removed this third window here, and the change is being propagated into my viewer. So you can imagine that you take one of the Unity Reflect viewers on a mobile device to a construction site, and on the other side of the cable, you have your colleague sitting in the design studio, and he's updating some changes here in his Revit, and through the live link, this change is being propagated to the device that you use to preview on the site. So this is really exciting.
Nice.
And as you see, it doesn't require too much of configuration on your side, the default viewer. I also mentioned that it preserves the BIM information data, the metadata. So if you click here, it automatically captured some of the data we had here, like the manufacturer. So I could filter all the objects that I see here by manufacturer. So let's say I'm interested in the things provided by the Toto. So here you can see there's a bathtub, a sink, and some other appliances. I can toggle them on and off if I want to render them. I can select any manufacturer that was provided here in the metadata. So I could do this through the manufacturer, through the type, system, sanitary systems, others, the family of objects, or the category. All right, so this is something that's possible with the default viewers, and I'm going to actually, there's one thing I want to show you. So in Unity, by default, we have this skybox and the sun, and with Unity Reflect Viewer, we can actually customize it. So you could set the specific latitude and longitude. You could make it face different direction. You could switch the time of the day, time of the year, and maybe play around with the time offset. Okay, so this is the default viewer, and I could actually preview some other projects. I'm going to do this in a moment. But first, let me switch back to Unity editor. Let me close the office. Let me switch back to the editor here. Just 1 second. All right, so I'm going to press play. And you can see that I have exactly the same thing as I had with my default Unity Reflect viewer, the one that's pre-made for you. Oops. And here's the same story. So it's going to log in first, fetch the list of the projects. Just 1 second. Yep. So it detected that it's me. That's logged into the to my account. Let me select the same sample architecture project. You can cache it by clicking this download button here. This is the first time I opened this project since I enabled the lifelink here. So it's going to take maybe a few more seconds to download. And the thing I want to show you here is that if you'd actually like to modify anything here in this visualization, you can see that this is, if you're familiar with Unity, this is the default kind of UI. And you could add your own buttons. You could modify this view however you want. You can change the logo. You can change the skybox, replace materials, and things like that. All right, so it looks like it's already loaded here. And actually, what I could do, I could select it here, get any of the objects that come from Revit. And if you select any of the objects, let's say I'm going to select this window here. As I mentioned, it preserves all the metadata. So everything that you had here in Revit is going to be preserved and pushed into Unity project. So if you would create some custom experience for your users, you could go through every single metadata here and maybe create some rules that if the material is set to aluminum, then you would switch the material to aluminum and so on and so on. So this is really powerful, and it's synchronized between Revit and the Unity project. What you could do actually is you could also go to the Reflect tab. So this is accessible through window Reflect, and it's able to fetch the list of the projects that you have. So for me, this would be the sample architecture, and I could download it. All right, I could download it. I already imported it into my project, so I have update or locate. But basically, this downloads the entire thing into the project, and you can use it in your offline visualization. So I could just bring it here without any synchronization. I could just bring it here and maybe swap the materials, change the roof color, come in here and maybe add some furniture, and create something interesting, maybe more similar to the London office that I showed you today. So it's not only the lifelink, but you can also bring all this stuff and use it in the offline mode. One more case scenario I want to show you is the sequencing. So let me switch to a different project. Revit. So here what I want to show is the example of sequencing. So I have this project here that's has some structure of the school. So there's a school building with some structural elements here, and each of these, okay, so each of these concrete beams, they have the phasing property attached here. All right, and I can reuse that data. Let me switch over to the Unity viewer. Am I in the sequencing? Yes. Okay, so let me do a live link here. From the Unity tab, I'm going to press start. All right, and school structure, I think I used this one. Let me synchronize the project. All right, let me go to Unity here. And this particular example, this is something that we provide out of the box. So let me just quickly refresh it. This is something that we provide out of the box because this is the phasing. This is just another BIM property that you can use. All right, so this would be school structure. Okay, so once everything is loaded, I'm going to show you how to preview different phases of construction of the building. All right, so here I have the entire building, an entire kind of construction finished, and I could come here and I could go to the phase created. So as I mentioned, this is something that you have out of the box. You could preview different part of basically different phase of construction. So you could go for the foundation, columns, framing, and so on. And if you'd like to visualize it, how the construction is going to happen, you could disable and make it invisible, and you could toggle and enable different parts at the time, right? So this could be starting from foundation, through columns, framing, and so on and so on. This way you could preview it and see how it will look like at different phase of the construction. And of course, if you would like to add some more to it, you could actually go to manage. Sorry, where is it? It's in the phases. You could add a new phase here. So, for example, after the framing level 3, you could insert the new after. Oops. Okay, so I don't want this one. Just copy it like that. You could add element number 8, and maybe this would be roofing, or maybe another columns level, and then roofing, columns level 4, and then the phase number 9. Maybe this will be roofing. Okay, and then you could add another level and basically set it to to whatever you wish, right? And then you could preview it in the Unity Reflect viewer. Okay, so this is very simple, right? It kind of requires you to toggle things on and off. Let me show you something more custom, but this is also something that's available for you. I'm going to share the link after a few minutes. So This is actually a project that comes with the custom package. So if you know Unity, we deliver some things through the package manager. And this particular package is called the Reflect extensions, and it comes with the GitHub repository. And I'm now looking at the custom viewers. So one of the custom viewers I have is the Reflect viewer sequencing. Okay. And I'm going to quickly switch over to this project. So this is a kind of a more finished project of the school architecture. And I'm going to synchronize it now. So I'm going to press start. And I'm going to synchronize it with one of the projects I have here in my Unity dashboard. I'm going to use this one. Let's give it a second. And after it's synchronized, I want to preview it here in my Reflect viewer sequencing example. So this one is going to be slightly more advanced. Okay, the synchronization finished. So let me press play here. Let's refresh the list of the projects. And here with this particular example, what I want to do, I don't want to toggle things on and off. I want to reuse some other properties I have here in this particular project. So if I select any of the objects, here you can see that it has some additional data to it. And the data I'm looking at is the completion target. And the completion target, this is basically providing me information about the date when this particular part is going to be completed. So let's open that. If you want to add this custom properties, you should be able to do this through the manage project parameters. This is the one I added here using the shared parameters. All right, so let me just reset very quickly the camera. Reset position.
Nice.
All right, so here is my building standing right here. And as I mentioned, I don't want to toggle on and off different phases, right? I want to have something more flexible. So here, basically, I have a slider, and I can slide and basically preview which elements are going to be finished at which state of the project, right? So this is something more flexible. And if you're interested how it exactly works, it's using some of the C# scripts provided with the projects, and it's basically going through all these different objects that we have. It's looking at the metadata, looking at the BIM data that comes with the project, and it's looking for the completion target. And the completion target is basically a date. Yeah, I think not every single element here has assigned the completion target. That's why I couldn't find it there. But yeah, but basically, this is a more advanced way that we can use to preview different phases of the project. Just very quickly, I'm going to switch over to this one again. So applications like Navisworks, they come with the clash detection. And actually using Unity, you can do your own very simple clash detection too. I'm going to show you how this would work. So let me synchronize the project again. This is going to be the school structure. I'm going to switch over to another example scene that I have here, the clash detection and material swapping. It's synchronized here, all looking good. And I'm going to press play and find my project. So the clash detection that we have here is actually using the properties of 3D rendering. So each object that you rendered in a 3D, let me create, for example, a cube here. So we have this cube. If I go to the inspector, you can see that it has something called a mesh renderer. And this mesh renderer has a collider on it, and also the kind of inherent property of a mesh renderer is the bounds that it has around it. So we can check for the bounds, and then we can check if these two objects will intersect together. So this can be either used by physics engine using the collider or the bounds of the renderer. And we can use this property, this rendering property, to do a very simple clash detection of our project. So here, it's the same one as I showed you just now. So for example, now I would like to preview if there's any clash between the framing and the columns, right? So I could click here, go to detect clashes, and check for the structural columns against the structural framing. Do a detect clashes. So now basically Unity will check if there are any overlapping elements. Right, so this will be using either the physics system or the rendering bounds, and it's going to swap the materials if there is any clash detected. All right, so I think this is mostly everything I want to show you here on the Reflect. One more interesting thing, I should probably shown it before that. Let me switch over back to this square architecture. So in this project, we added several custom objects inside here with that are basically going to let me position my camera in different parts of the visualization. Let me close this one. I don't need this guy anymore. So I could reuse this BIM parameters, this properties that I set here. I could reuse them to set the desired camera position for my viewer. So this is the Reflect viewer camera location. A nice thing about all these examples is that when you basically double click on any of them, it will bring the README file in the inspector, so you can understand better how it works, and it gives you all the links to the documentation. Let me press play and see how it works. So in this particular demo, what we've added, we are basically reusing some metadata to position camera in different places of the visualization. And this is a nice way to kind of very quickly move, especially when you're on a mobile device, when you're not on a PC with a proper mouse and keyboard on mobile devices. It might be slightly harder to navigate around the scene. So with this kind of click to move functionality, it's slightly easier on the user experience side. Okay, I hope I clicked on the right one. I think the downloading might be a little bit slow because I'm using VPN now. I need to connect to my company VPN.
So you're at home right now.
Yes. I don't think I'll come back to the office in the next few months. Maybe in 2-3 months. There are some people that are already in the office, but yeah. How's the situation in Philippines?
Still no travel between the main seat, Metro Manila, and the provinces.
Oh, I see.
The cases still growing.
Yeah, it's a bit scary. All right, I think I clicked on the wrong one here. Let me just quickly do this again. So the one I wanted to use was the architecture.
When was the last time you visited the Philippines?
I actually have never been to Philippines yet. I've been to many countries in the region, but I didn't have a chance to go to Philippines yet.
Yeah.
So
We
maybe
will see you
next year, if the situation is better, maybe then I can
Yep.
go. I think it's this one. Okay, so here basically can reuse some of the data that comes from basically BIM from Revit, and I can very quickly move around different rooms. So you could place some additional maybe empty objects here, and give them some parameters like camera position, and then you could read it in Unity to very quickly move between different views. Right, so maybe you're showing the project to some very important stakeholders. They don't have too much time, so you click on the camera here, move to the cafeteria, show them around this place, and very quickly move around different parts of the visualization. And again, everything that you see here, this would work perfectly fine on the mobile AR device in VR too. So I think that's pretty much it for the demo part. Let me move back to the presentation. The last thing I want to show you before the Q&A is the links. So this is the Unity Reflect landing page. And if you click on this link, it will bring you to basically Unity 3D website. And it has some basic information about Reflect. You can apply for the trial. There is also a link for the AEC forums. So if you have any questions about maybe some problems in your simulation, forums is a great place to seek for help. The Reflect extension that I just shown you, so basically the sequencing, the clash detection, and the different camera views, they come from this repository. So feel free to check that one out too. And finally, the last section, I want to show you how to very quickly how can you use Unity to create AR application.
Yes.
Because I think a big advantage of using Unity is that it's multi-platform, and basically if you come here and see, you can deploy to PC, Mac, Linux, UWP, tvOS, PlayStation, iOS, Android, WebGL. Like all these different platforms are supported. And if you want to deploy your application to AR, you basically have two choices. You can make the entire application made with Unity, but sometimes maybe you have your parent application and then Unity can run as a library. So you can choose either of these and this will work fine. Then you have a choice between native plugins like ARKit and ARCore and Vuforia, maybe some other libraries, right? So ARKit and ARCore, they require slightly more modern devices. But the advantage of that is that they support the AR Foundation. And AR Foundation is basically Unity cross-platform, cross-AR platform solution to create AR visualization. Okay, and you could also create separate projects for different platforms, but I strongly advise you try the AR Foundation. Then another thing that you should consider is whether you use anchors, image, or object targets. So the anchor will be basically, you could place your visualization anywhere. The image target could be basically like a starting point when you move your phone and scan the image target. So your image target could be something like a QR code or an image, right? So you could start your visualization from this particular image. And finally, you could also use the object, like a 3D object, as your target. And much of the AR technology is running on something we call visual inertial odometry. And this is basically a tech that combines the inputs from your IMU sensor. So this is your accelerometer, gyro, together with the image from your camera, from your device. Okay, and these things that you can see here, they are something we call feature points. And your AR application is collecting these feature points. Basically, camera detects these feature points, and they are used for recognition of the images, objects, and tracking your anchors in the real world. Okay, so when you move your phone camera or your iPad camera towards maybe like a flat white wall, it's not going to detect many feature points. But if you move your camera towards maybe some edged and chiseled cornered shapes, then it's going to detect much more feature points. And these feature points, they're like a basic building block of many AR features, like plane detection, image recognition, and object recognition. They all rely on these feature points. So your aim is to maximize the number of these feature points for accurate and stable tracking. Later I'm going to show you some tips how you can maximize the number of the feature points to improve your tracking accuracy. Now, if you want to go for the AR Foundation, so AR Foundation, it's a Unity cross-platform AR solution. There are some requirements that you need to fulfill on the developer side and on the end user side. So on the developer side, of course, you want to be running Unity editor with iOS or Android platform support. All right. Then you need to download some packages through the package manager. This will be your AR Foundation. And if you're running on Android, AR Core, or ARKit if you're running on iOS. Now, the important thing to note is that if you target iOS, you would actually need a macOS. This is requirement to run the Xcode project. And Xcode, this is something you need to build your iOS application. Then, of course, if you want to check the application on the actual device, you need either iOS or Android device for testing. And finally, on the end user side, it would require Android 7.0 or higher. And if you're running on iOS, this would be 11.0 or higher. For some of the features like face tracking, this is not really necessary for the AEC, but for maybe some other applications, this would be iPhone X.
Wow.
Okay, if you want to add image tracking to your project, you basically have to right click, go to create XR reference image library, and this is like the asset in your project, and you add images one by one here by dragging and dropping different images here to your image target library. The important thing to note is that to improve the tracking stability, most of the time you want to specify the physical size, and this is the requirement. For example, on iOS, you need to provide the actual size, the physical size in real world of your image targets. This is example from Xcode. So on my machine, I was running some AR demos on iOS, and when you create your build, you can actually expect every single image target, and you can see what Xcode has to tell about your image, right? So here it says that the resolution is too low. It should be at least 480 pixels. So if you're running on Xcode, it's really good idea to check what kind of messages Xcode can give you here when you build. Some of the tips for the image tracking is to provide the accurate physical size. So if you're going to print something maybe like Unity logo, right, you want to provide the accurate physical size. So this would be something like 20 by maybe 10 centimeters, right? You want to make sure that this size is accurate. Also, if you are running on iOS, make sure that you read the warnings from the Xcode, because they are very, very useful. You want to use flat and sturdy surfaces. So if you take your image target to the construction site, and this will be on a paper that can be bent, it's not going to be very accurate, because when you bend it, the feature points are going to, instead of being aligned as when you imported them in your project, they're going to be bent, and the recognition is not going to be very, very good. Also, it's a good advice to avoid glossy surfaces, because if you print your target on something that reflects a lot of sun rays, this is especially the case when you bring your image targets to the construction site. There are going to be some reflections here, and the reflections basically change the color of your image target. So it's always a good idea to print them on matte surfaces. Then high contrast images, they tend to have more feature points. Also, make sure that your images have higher contrast. And you should also aim for uniformly distributed features. So something like the Unity logo, it's actually not a very good target, because you have some feature points here next to the letters, but this black dark area here, it doesn't have any feature points, so it's not the best image target. iOS recently, Apple, they added support for the object tracking, and it's very similar to image tracking. So basically, you just create a library of objects in your Unity project, and you can scan objects and add them to your library using your iPhone or iPad. So now it's the iOS only feature, but it's really interesting if you want to create some augmentation, and maybe you want to create your visualization over a 3D physical object. So this is available now on iOS, and it will require you to download the scanning app. And the scanning app has some nice documentation, and can walk you through how you can scan the 3D objects and how you can import them to basically create a 3D object target. Some of the tips for object tracking is that to scan them in a uniformly lit space. The scanning process can be quite time consuming. From my experience, it can take up to 10 minutes to scan one object, one 3D object, and I think this time can be really sped up if you do this in a uniformly and nicely lit space. You want to choose objects with a lot of features on the surface. So something with some color patterns, maybe football, stuff like this. It has a lot of feature points, so it will be easier to scan. Again, as with the image targets, you want to avoid reflective and glossy surfaces. And don't use soft objects like plastic bags, because the feature point distribution will change if the shape of the object will change. From my experiments, asymmetrical objects, they work better as the object targets. And also for the scanning part of your objects, when you scan them to add them to your library, as you scan them, place them on in places that have very little feature points. So this could be like a white piece of paper, or maybe like a piece of plywood without too many features. One more tip when you create AR applications with Unity is to use some nice UI to guide your user through the experience. Because when you just add the AR mode, some of your users, they might feel lost. They don't know that, for example, you want them to scan a QR code. They don't know what you want them to do, right? So a good idea is to guide them through the process with a nice UI. You can actually go to the asset store and get the AR Foundation Demos onboarding UX. And this is a free pack that provides you with some nice onboarding UI. So you could create a sequence that will tell user, hey, find the image with the QR code, scan it, move your phone around, and you can nicely guide them using this this kind of onboarding UI. There are some very nice examples on how you can use AR Foundation on Android and iOS. So here are two repositories I highly recommend: AR Foundation samples and AR Foundation demos. These two repositories are very useful. And finally, before we move to the Q&A section, I would really appreciate if you can take your time and fill in the survey. There's a link here. So if you could fill the survey, you can also scan the QR code. I would really appreciate it.
Marek, can you please reflash again the previous slide about the AR?
Yeah, sure.
AR. Okay,
So these two, they are more for people who have some experience with Unity. These are the examples that you can use and build. So AR Foundation samples and demos. They have the official demos and samples from Unity, and this will include stuff like image tracking, face tracking, and all different scenarios that you can imagine. I think we didn't add the object tracking yet, but if it's going to be available, it's going to be available here on the first one. All right, so this is the survey link. And that's it for my presentation. I'm going to take some questions from the Q&A. And if you have any more questions, like after the Q&A, this is my email address. It's marekem@unity3d.com. So I'm not sure how I go into the Q&A. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Okay, so before we accept the questions, we want to have a timestamp of attendance. So if you're still there, please comment down #Unity for Visualization. Yeah, so it's a great way of seeing if people are still there. So please comment down if you're still there. To our attendees, please comment down Unity for Visualization. Once more, comment down. It's time for attendance check. Comment down Unity for #Unity for Visualization. Okay, first question for Marek. How about scan data? Can we bring scan data directly into Unity?
Yes, so there's several ways to do that. Oh, sorry, I'm hearing myself here. So I think one of the best ways to bring things like point cloud data would be to use Interact. So Interact is one of the products that we have available. So you could bring them using Unity Interact. So this is a product targeting more professional AEC developers. There are also some simpler solutions. So, for example, recently I was experimenting with the iPad Pro functionality. So recently Apple added the LiDAR functionality to the iPad, and it can actually bring very quickly the point cloud from the iPad using things like VFX Graph in Unity. But kind of more professional solution would be Unity Interact.
Okay, so once more for you guys out there, if you appreciate the time, effort that Marek has shared to us, please comment down. Unity for visualization. Another question, do we need to bake the lights into Unity so that we can make it more realistic? Baking the lights in Unity?
All right. So if you want to try Unity, you can try it for free if you go to unity3d.com. You can actually request a trial and you can try it for free. The free and pro license, they have more or less the same functionality in terms of baked light. So baked light is something very useful if you have static geometry in a scene, and this is basically as easy as going to your lighting tab and pressing bake, and this is basically going to bake your global illumination and all the lighting in the scene to provide kind of high quality visualization. It's not necessary actually, because you can have dynamic lights in the scene. Of course, the more dynamic lights you add, the more expensive it is to calculate them on your CPU and GPU of your device. So your processor and graphics card, they're going to take more time to process all this lighting information. That's why in many visualizations, you have one main dynamic, maybe directional light, and then you have many baked point lights, things like that. Also, to improve this visual quality, I think a very important part of visual quality is the post-processing. So now with Unity, both URP and HDRP, you have the post-processing functionality, and this could be adding things like bloom, the color grading, and ambient occlusion, and things like that. I think post-processing immediately makes your visualization look more professional, better, and good looking.
Okay, for those who are asking, I just made the search for myself. So how much is Unity Reflect? Okay.
Yeah. So this is the annual subscription. But of course, if you want to try it first before buying, there is try it for free button on the top right corner. So if you want to try it, you don't want to buy it right away, you can actually request a trial.
Is it free for? Do we have a Reflect version for students?
So if you're a student, I think you can request a trial, and if your trial finishes, you can actually request. I know that the team sometimes they extend the trial. So if you're a student, I think it should be fine if you request the trial.
Okay, here's another typical question. What are the minimum system requirements? Your recommendation from Marek, PC or Mac? System requirements, the RAM, the GPU, the processor.
Yeah, so I really can't advise on this one because it's totally up to you if you prefer Windows or Mac. As for the RAM, I think 8 gigabytes should be minimum for any kind of more advanced visualization. I think 16 gigs of RAM is kind of a safe area where you can kind of push your PC a little bit further. And I think any of the the processors from AMD or Intel that were produced in the last 7 years, this should be totally fine.
What are you currently using right now to use Unity? What's the spec of your? What are you using?
So I'm using i7. I assembled this PC in 2015 or 2015. Yeah. So this is like a desktop PC from 2015. It's i7, 8 gigs of RAM.
Mm. Okay,
That's
so
nothing impressive.
okay, so you hear that, guys? Another this is kind of tricky. Can we use Unity for disaster resiliency?
Yes. So I know that some people use Unity for visualization of different projects. So uh, basically, any scenario that you can imagine, you could visualize it in Unity, right? As long as you can bring the data into the engine with Reflect PXEs or maybe FBX, like any other way you can use it for training, visualization.
Okay, from April Angela Santos. Any collaboration with Synchro? I think Synchro is from Bentley for 4D BIM.
All right, so this is actually not something I'm aware of. But I know that team has actually public roadmap. So if I'm going to share my screen one more time.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the public roadmap for Unity Reflect and Unity in AEC. It's a public roadmap, and you can see that there are some new tech that are under construction. So the 3ds Max plugin, some more options for Revit, AutoCAD. There's WebGL under construction, and you can basically come here to the public roadmap and check what the team is currently working on. And if you have any ideas of your own, let's say the 4D or any other additional software, you can request and submit your idea here by clicking this button in the public roadmap. So if there is something that's not covered here, it's not in the development yet, you can submit your ideas and actually point the team into the direction that you want.
Okay, napindot ata ni ano. Napindot ata ni Marek, no? Yung ayun,
So sorry, I disconnected.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Any recommendations? What's the cost for investing in a VR gear?
So I think nowadays most of my colleagues in the office, they use Oculus Quest because it's very portable and it's quite reasonably priced. So I think it's a good starting point if you have enough. I think Oculus Quest it's a really good choice. For a long time, I was using HTC Vive in the office, but the problem with the Vive is that you have to carry the lighthouses with you, which is not very convenient. But again, I can't really give any recommendations here.
Oculus Quest. Anyways, learning resources once more. Learning resources for everyone beginning to learn Unity Reflect.
So for the Unity Reflect, actually, it's a great question. We have a webinar series. If you go to the forums, the AEC forums, Unity Reflect webinar, series. It's this one. And the third link, the AEC digital series, if you could click on the third link, you basically have to provide you basic information. And if you click watch now, it will show you the video on demand. So this is the pre-recorded session. But if there is like any upcoming session that was not viewed yet, you can register for the online session. And there is usually a Q&A section there. So if you have any questions, you can ask the developers of the Reflect. You can ask the developers directly. So this is I think the best way to learn Reflect. Another one would be to go to unity3d.com and go to our Learn tab. Yes, this one. So recently we made it free to everyone. Before, the Learn Pro was available with a small fee, but now everything is for free here. So you can go to unity3d.com to the Learn tab and Learn Premium. Unity Learn Premium. It's actually free now, so you have access to all this knowledge on demand.
Okay, we're seeing Unity certified. Do we have a certification for Reflect as well?
Yeah. So certification for Reflect, I don't think it's available yet. The one that I recommend, if you scroll down a little bit, so you can see that there is this launch your career. So there's like an entry level. If you scroll a little bit up, launch your career. So you have the certified programmer, certified 3D artist. So this is kind of like entry level certification. But then you have expert level certification, and this is actually quite challenging. You can choose your specialty. So if you're a programmer, you could try the gameplay programmer. So this will test your C# coding skills. If you're a technical artist, you have two choices. The first one is rigging animation. The second one is shading and effects. So they are more advanced, but if you can pass any of these expert certifications, it can prove that you really have advanced knowledge of Unity.
Okay. So next, you mentioned that Unity utilizes C#. So what's your recommended editor? Sublime?
Visual Studio. I think Visual Studio and Rider. Also these two. Yes.
Visuals. Let me.
So Visual Studio comes pre-installed with Unity. You just have to tick one checkbox, and it should be enabled by default. It's a Rider, RIDER. Rider, yeah. So there are people who prefer Rider, there are people who prefer Visual Studio.
What do you prefer?
I find myself switching between these two.
Okay. I think this is the last question. The learning curve. How long will it take to be conversant with Reflect alone? Do we need to learn C# ASAP, or can we survive without learning any coding?
So coding is definitely very helpful. If you don't write any C# code, we actually have the solution called Bolt available. So Bolt, BOLT, it's plugin available on the Asset Store. And this is a visual scripting solution. So if you're not comfortable with writing code by hand, the C# code, you can use one of the visual scripting solutions, right? So this one will be something more artist friendly.
Is this like a Dynamo from Autodesk? version or equivalent for Unity?
Something similar. So with Bolt, you should be able to access like any property of the game object, call the functions from different scripts. So it's very very artist friendly and non-programmer friendly. So if you're not familiar with C# code, you should definitely try Bolt. So learning coding and scripting is actually not required. You can start with Reflect without any coding knowledge. But then if you want to create some more advanced visualizations, maybe some custom UI and some more custom elements, custom interactions, then some scripting knowledge is advised.
I think for the substance into Unity, I think it's already a different topic. Or can you share some thoughts, Marek?
So Substance is great, and I think now the integration comes through the package manager, Substance to Unity. Yeah, I think now it's through the package manager. And you should definitely, if you Substance in Unity. Yeah, so this is the official plugin from the algorithmic. So the London office demo that I shown you, the materials that were created with Substance, right? So this is definitely recommended way to create high quality materials.
Okay, so that's a killer. Okay, thank you so much, Marek. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you again for another series of Unity, and hoping you can visit Philippines probably next year.
Yes, I also hope so. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you everyone on Facebook. Thanks to everyone on YouTube. And try Reflect, try Unity, and if you have any questions, drop me an email. And again, thank you very much for today.
Okay, so are you the speaker as well when we request for Unity for the cars, the vehicles? Are you also that resource person for manufacturing?
So this would be either me or one of my colleagues. So I also work with some field engineers in the Singapore office, and it's usually us.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Marek, and thank you everyone. So this will go down in history. So if you know someone who will benefit from Unity to Revit AEC, please lead them to our YouTube and Facebook pages. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Marek. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.